Well, howdy folks, Hellcorrex here, and welcome to Mercenary Thoughts from the Inner Sphere, episode 112. And today we're going to be talking about the Thor, the 70-ton Omni mech from the clan, aka the Summoner. Alright, it's not a bad mech. Some people kind of disparage it in some ways, but it's overall is kind of well balanced. It is a 70-ton mech. Omni is a 585, has jump jets automatically built into it, which isn't a bad deal. Comes in with 22.5 tons of pod space. If you took off the jump jets, that's, well, 27.5 tons. That's really respectable for clan. They just tossed jump jets on it to make it a more mobile mech, leaving it with 22.5 tons worth of pod space to play around with. Alright, so now carries around 14 double heat sinks, which is really good. It can dissipate 28 points of heat, and almost every configuration of this mech, heat is never a problem. Has 182 points of armor, which is 9.5 tons, with ferrofibrous armor. So if you think back to the Loki, which doesn't have ferrofibrous, if they would add ferrofibrous on it and maybe another 1.5 tons, it would be the same amount of armor on it comparatively. So it would have made the Loki a heck of a lot better mech just by getting rid of a couple, about maybe 1.5 tons or 1 ton of pod space, which I would have been more than willing to happy to do with. Alright, so it carries around the right and left leg 2 jump jets, so there's no way you can put heat sinks in that. And then it has a jump jet in the center torso, so you got 1 pod space left there. And then obviously you got the XL engines in the right and left torso, 2 pod space, or 2 spots there, which is pretty good overall. And then you have you're running around with 7 ferrofibrous points scattered throughout the one in the head. You got some in the right and left torso, 1 in each arm. Okay, so yeah, gets around. Now, the primary version, which is pretty common, we've seen a lot of it in a lot of games over the years, comes in around 2,300 battle value. Carries around an ER-PPC in the right arm, an LBX-10 autocannon with a ton of ammo in the left arm, LRM-15 in the left torso with 2 tons of ammo. So it can basically shoot pretty much all day. And you're looking at a mech that can dissipate 28 heat and then doesn't really cause much heat at all itself. So you're looking at 18, yeah. So about the only time this thing is going to get around and put any little bit of heat on it is when it jumps, and that's pretty insignificant. So in the grand scheme of things, this is a pretty cool mech for heat wise. And with the primary version, however I like to use this mech is that it's a very mobile mech. It's one of those ones I like to use. It's pretty common to see it in the Jade Falcons, or you know, if I usually have mine painted up in the Clan Wolf colors, but because I'm a Clan Wolf guy. But the big thing is, being that it's so mobile, you can put it into pretty much every type of situation and get away with it. And it does have some decent amount of armor to play around with. Yeah, it's short by a couple tons, I think. Yeah. And overall, you can get away with it in the aspect that you can get into a protracted fight against Inner Sphere and last for a while unless you get focused down. But with your mobility of this thing, at a 70-ton mech that can run around up to 8 or jump 5, you're looking at usually, hopefully, a 3 modifier in most cases, making it a little harder for most Inner Sphere mechs to hit you, because most of the time Inner Sphere mechs don't have really good gunners. You're lucky if you have some 3s, you know. And if you add in everybody's movement modifiers and ranges, it's usually in your favor that you're not going to get hit very much. If they do, it's going to be some minor damage, typically. So, yeah, not a bad deal. Now, when I do use these things, I try to always look for ways to get into some better cover, into either woods or get behind a building. The typical tactics I've been talking about for a couple years now is always try to mitigate their ability to hit you and maximize your ability to hit them. And that may be getting into some type of cover. A lot of players, especially if you're playing against newer guys, don't really think about these things a lot of times. Or you get into that bloodlust. I've known some individuals that just kind of focus in and say, I'm going to kill that thing, I'm going to kill that thing. I can do this, I can do this. No, it's not going to happen. And they'll be firing and firing and firing their weapons, and they're cooking, and next thing they're heating up, and then you are winning the game, because obviously if you use a lot of good tactics and think about things in advance and keep your heat management under control, a lot of times you're doing pretty well in this game. And now if you get this thing into a city fight, oh, those 5 jump jets are a dream. So if you can jump around from building to building, city block to city block, and get them into, let's say you got a squadron or star of mechs that all have jump jets, you can pack hunt easily. You see either run down a street, jump over a bunch of buildings, get in behind somebody quickly, faster than they can, and then you focus fire down on one mech, tear it to pieces, move on to the next one, and just keep moving and moving and moving. It's like you never sit in one spot, so they can, if they don't have jump jets, they are forced to go down this block, turn this block. Well, you can just go jump here, jump here, jump here, and you can manage your heat. If you're just like, oh, I can only fire this, keep yourself cool, so you minimize all those modifiers. You're doing yourself no favors if you turn around and cook yourself and raise up those modifiers. Then your tactics are not going to work in your favor anymore, because you're hindering yourself. All right, so that's things you got to look at. Now, especially when you look at this mech, when you have that ERPPC and that LBX cannon and that LRM. Nice thing about clans, they don't have those minimum ranges you have to worry about. So you can jump in behind somebody in a city fight, hammer them away. If you hit somebody in the rear arc with that PPC, it's punching completely through. There's no mech out there beside maybe an assault or two that has 15 points of armor on their back in one location. And you're going to punch through, and you got a good chance of critical. Then you follow it up. It's like a hit there. I'm going to follow up with the LBX cannon, shotgun it, and hopefully you're punching a few extra holes into that. It's like basically how I do it is fire the PPC, and then put the LRM, because those go in 5-point blocks, and then follow it up with the LBX cannon shotgun. Or if you prefer to do the solid shot, put a 10-pointer someplace, that'd be fine. And typically, if I'm using this as a pack hunter with jump jets, I'm more or less, probably this will be your largest mech in the star. So he might have the biggest weapons, so he's going to go first. So there you go. Now, the alpha version. This is a nice one. Has a large pulse laser in the right arm, a Gauss cannon in the left arm with a ton of ammo, which is kind of a hindrance. And then you have an SRM-6 in the left torso in the missile pod bay with 2 tons of ammo. I probably would have gone with flip-flopped only 1 ton of ammo for the SRM, and then gave that Gauss cannon 2 tons of ammo. That'd be the one modifier I'd do with that thing. Because I'd rather have that. You're putting so much weight into a Gauss rifle and only giving it 1 ton of ammo. No, I'd rather shortchange the SRM, which can shoot 15 turns, and then turn around and put another ton of ammo into that Gauss cannon so it could shoot 16 turns. So they, okay, you see how that's going to balance itself out there? And that comes in at 2100 battle value. Now this one can take advantage of that jumping with that pulse laser, and so you kind of off shooting if you jump. It's only a slight modifier against you comparatively. Now, you punch somebody with that Gauss cannon, oh, that's pretty nasty. You can hit them pretty hard with that thing, especially at the longer ranges. Now, some people will beg to differ with that, is that would you have been better off giving yourself 2 large pulses instead of the Gauss cannon, or replace that Gauss cannon with a large ERPPC? Alright, so then freeing up a whole bunch more tonnage for either a couple more heat sinks to offset the heat or something of that nature. So otherwise, this one is pretty decent. You can sit at kind of a range as you're closing and punch holes in with that Gauss cannon. And then when you get in closer, you start hitting them with at 20 or less. You hit it with that large pulse laser. Now, this is a mech that doesn't even care about heat, because you're looking at 21, 20, yeah, 10, 11, 15, 20. Most heat you can do with this thing without an engine hit. 20. This thing's going to run cool all day. So it could work one way or the other. Now, the Bravo version has an LRM 20 in the right arm with 2 tons of ammo. It has an SRM 4 in the right arm with a ton of ammo. And same configuration in the left arm. So we got 2, and then we have an anti-missile system in the left torso with a ton of ammo. We got a narc beacon in the left torso with a ton of ammo. It comes in around 150 battle value. This one is basically, I consider, like a fire support mech. You can just sit there at longer range and rain down fire with those 2 LRM-20s. If something gets in a little closer, you got to toss in the 2 SRM-4s. And if they get close enough, you can hit them with narc beacon and increase your ability to start doing more damage. And with the narc beacon, it's going to help everybody else out too that's shooting missiles at the target that's been narked. So, but typically I find that in most cases, unless it's an assault mech or a heavy, against clan, most mechs don't last more than a turn or two. So the narc beacon is benefits are short-lived, to say the least. You hit them with it, and next thing you know, turn 2 later, there's no target to even shoot at anyway. So, but with the clan LRM-20s, you can get it into their face if you want to, especially if, say, going around a hill or something, you just jump in behind them, run in behind them. You know, you got the mobility with this mech to get into their flanks pretty quickly, and there's no minimum range problems with the clan LRM, so yeah, you can hammer them pretty hard with a bunch of cluster shots. It's be one of those ones where if you're running in with somebody that has like a ERPPC or 2, you hammer them with those, do the most damage, rip off, and then you're following up with this guy would be like a 2nd or 3rd one in the firing order of who's going to do the damage next. Now, the Charlie version. This one's not a bad one. It has an ER large laser in the right arm, ER small laser in the right arm, has an Ultra 20 autocannon in the left arm with 2 tons of ammo, and a Streak 6 in the left torso with a ton of ammo. This comes in around 2400 battle value. This one is one you love to take into a city fight. You get in close, within 12. Alright, so when you're closing, you got the ER large laser, so you can do some damage as you're closing. You know, you're doing 10 here, 10 there, kind of following it up. And if you're the order of operations, now this would be one of those mechs that kind of shoots in the 3rd order, just because when it's closing, the most it's going to do is 10. And until that autocannon gets in the range along with that streak, then ooh, it's going to be a bad day for somebody if that thing double pumps if you double pump it. I have a tendency to just fire it once a lot of times. Just the fact that with the limit of ammo on these things, 5 turns, depending on, I guess if you're facing clan mechs where you know your life expectancy might be a little shorter, yeah, go ahead, double pump that thing when it's in range and do some serious damage, because hit somebody with 40 points of damage, they're going to know you're there. Yeah, it tears off a lot of armor in places, or just rips off limbs of mechs, especially if they're mediums. But yeah, if you get that thing into a city fight, like I said, come in real close. This is the guy, if he's in range, he's number one. He shoots in the first firing order with that autocannon. Because if he can double pump that thing in there with that, add that large laser in, he can do up to 50 points of damage real quick. And if that streak hits, that's 6 more, so 12. Yeah, you're looking at 62 points possible damage from those. And if this small laser happens to be in range, it's just a bonus. But yeah, that's a lot of armor that's ripped off a mech. Now, if you hit, let's say, a fresh Atlas or something, yeah, that's got 300. You just have a potential of knocking off 1/5 of its armor in one shot from just one mech. Kind of gives you an idea how well they think. Now, that is the whole body. There's many times where what's the most common rolls when you're hitting with a pair of 6-sided dice is typically going to be 6, 7, and 8. All right, that's pretty the curve. You know, that's where you're gonna hit. So it's going to be in the torso. And I've had games where all damage I ever did went into, let's say, a center torso or right or left torso. It's like, 5, 6, another 6, another 6. They all hit the same spot. And next thing you know, I've taken out Intersphere mechs with a XL engine and with one mech. Just bam, just tear them to pieces. Now, the Delta configuration comes in around 2,700 battle value. This one is an interesting one. It has in the right arm ER large laser and ER medium laser. Same thing in the left arm. And has 3 double heat sinks in the right arm and 3 more in the left arm. Carries around a machine gun in the right torso, an anti-missile system in the right torso, a machine gun in the left torso, anti-missile system in the left torso with a ton of ammo for the machine gun, and 2 tons for the anti-missile system. This one here, along with a targeting computer, is a very interesting mech. It's one of those ones where you're looking at dissipating 40 heat. And it basically, when you're in range with the ER medium laser and the ER large laser, you're looking at 34. And if you jump, that's 39. And your heat can go up depending on the anti-missile system. You got 2 of them. So if somebody's shooting at you with a lot of missiles, you can knock those things down pretty quickly. So this one is a fairly cool, not have to worry about heat at all. And then when you got something that can hit you out past 20, it's kind of like past 20, then 15. You got your range bands with this thing. And you have the targeting computer, and you put a really good pilot in this thing. Oh, it's going to be really tearing things up pretty good. You know, yeah, it's only going to be 7s and 10s when you hit with the large or the medium laser, but it's still going to be hitting pretty good. So yeah, this thing can do up to 34 points of damage, and if you get really close in with the machine guns, you can do a couple plinkers here and there. But I always look at this one as also is kind of your anti-infantry one. Go in and hit them hard, especially if you say, oh, SRM troops, who cares? I'm going to go in there and mow some infantry down with them. And then you're not going to have to worry about too much damage coming your own way. So that is a Delta configuration. I like that one. Is one of those ones you can just either sit back and plink away with it if you want to at your medium ranges. Stay kind of outside the effective ranges of most of the inner-sphere mechs, and just do damage here and there. And with the benefit of that targeting computer, and if you got a good gunner in it, you can offset your running if you're moving that fast. So overall, that's a pretty good one. Now, then we run into the Echo version. Has an ATM 12 in the right arm with an ATM 6 in the right arm. And then we have in the right torso, we got 6 tons of ammo, 3 for each. Then in the left arm, we have an ERPPC. This is one of those ones where it's kind of interesting, is that it comes in at 2,600 battle value. It's one of those ones that can just sit back and become a fire support mech and do the job pretty hard. Get in your face and do the job pretty hard. And not really worry too much about too much heat to begin with. And do the Lord's work. Basically, that's all you got to say on that one. No matter what range band you're in, it can do some good damage. Long range, you can do long range fire support. Medium range, you can do medium range fire support. And if you get into its face, it's going to let you know that, yes, I'm still around here and I'm going to kick your butt around. And then we have a couple other versions. We got the G version. Has an ERPPC in the right arm. 3 SRM4s in the right torso with a ton of ammo. We got 2 double heat sinks in the right torso, an ER large laser in the left arm, 3 SRM4s in the left torso with a ton of ammo, and then 2 more double heat sinks and a heavy small laser. Alright. Not bad. This thing is basically something that gets in your face, and let's see, it's got 4. So you're looking at dissipate 36. Yeah, it's got the PPC for its fire and the ER large lasers for when you're closing. You can do some good damage with that thing. And then you got those, when they get in close, you can hit them with those 6 SRM4s. That can do a lot of damage with those things. That's pretty decent one for tearing up any type of infantry, battle armor, etc. You just, or as I like to call this one's a scraper hit crunter, or hit crit hunter. Can't even say that fast. And at 2,400 battle value, that's one that is probably, I look at shooting last. Maybe it could go first, but typically I'd like to, because it's got that ERPPC. So when it's closing, it can tear stuff off. But by the time it gets in close with those SRMs, yeah, you're going to be going, okay, here we go. Let's just see how many of these things hit. They'll fire the PPC first and just roll off and see how many of the SRMs connect. And then, okay, I hit with that many. Got 6. Yeah, that most of your heat's going to be burned up in just using it in the SRMs, and then I probably just follow up with the ER large laser, and then not use the PPC. So that was the G version. Then we got an H, HH, and an M version, and yeah, that's just a lot of more of the same thing. The interesting thing, the H has a targeting computer. It's very similar in configuration to the Delta, but it's just improved weapon systems. HH uses plasma guns, and the M version is very similar. It's basically you're looking at the Prime version, but with a slightly different configuration. You know, it's got the same weapon systems, but here and there. Now, overall, in closing, the Thor is a good mech. I like it. I use it as much as possible in most of the games I ever play, just because it can bring a lot of good stuff to the table, and it's well worth the points that are used with it. And you have enough configurations that you can balance a star out. You look at it, it's like, what's this one's job? It's like you kind of look at your star and figure out what roles you want to have with it, especially if you're playing against clan or you're playing against Intersphere. You got to figure out whose role is going to do what. And this one, depending on how you what configuration, or if you use the pod space up, just customize it yourself using the 22.5 tons of pod space. You can make this thing into a pretty beast of a machine, and its mobility is where it's at. That's the primary thing about this mech, is it's very mobile. Alright, hope you guys like this one. Like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and we will talk with you later. Hellcorrex out.